Hello everyone and welcome to It Goes Off. We've just had round 23 and we pass on our congratulations to the New Zealand Breakers who have clinched the regular season title as I bring in Grantley Bernard. Grantley, the New Zealand Breakers currently 19-6 on the NBL table. An extraordinary performance by them, securing top spot at the end of the regular season. And also we pay respect to the Perth Wildcats, who are going to feature and secured their 26th consecutive playoff appearance. 26! Now, Grantley, I mean, we might have to delve into Australian sporting records because I struggle to think of any team in any major competition in this country that has been in the playoff 26th consecutive season.
I think it'd be hard to top it, for sure.
Very hard.
So we'll probably have a look at that and we'll check back in next week. But, I mean, 26 years straight in the playoffs. Did you ever even play 26 playoff games?
No. Hey, excuse me.
Oh, no, sorry.
Excuse me. Racked up a few playoff games along the journey, but
eventually.
A number of generations have come and gone through the Perth Wildcats, and that is mind-boggling to think that they were there. And themselves and the New Zealand Breakers lock them in, secured in the playoffs. Where the Wildcats may finish, still an element of doubt, depending on what goes on. And it's really come down now to three teams vying for two spots. And that is, of course, the Cairns Taipans, the Townsville Crocs, and the Gold Coast Blaze. Very important time. 2 rounds remaining. I think it's imperative right now we have a look at the run home. So, Grantley, you can dissect it and tell us who's going to eventually figure in playoff action.
This has got all the makings of a Sudoku puzzle.
It is? Complicated?
It's unbelievable. Let's start
a lot of permutation.
Let's start with the Taipans at 14 and 12. They have got the Kings at home and the Sixers at home.
The easiest run of the lot.
Now, you would think...
In theory.
You would think if they've got their full roster on the floor and they're going, that's a 2-0 finish for the Taipans, and they're at 16 and 12.
Correct.
Then we go to the Blaze, 15 and 10. They've got the Breakers away, the Sixers away, and the Breakers at home.
Tough one.
Now, if we give them the Sixers game, the Breakers they're toss-ups. Again, that could be another 16-12 finish.
Well, the X factor there is that last game, which is going to be
how are the Breakers going to treat it?
What sort of team are the Breakers going to send across to Australia to play the Blaze on the last
That's going to be interesting to see, and I think a lot will have to do with the semi-final scheduling. When their first game is.
Yes.
So if you rest players, is it too far to the next game?
All unknowns at this stage.
Correct. Then you've got the Crocs at 15 and 11. I've got the Wildcats away and the Breakers at home. So we have a very real possibility they could end 3 teams at 16 and 12.
Well, if that happens, Grantley, who in the head-to-head is going to get in?
All right, well, in the event of a Crocs and Blaze tie, two-way tie, the Crocs have the breaker over the Blaze. The Blaze have the edge over the Taipans, and the Crocs have the edge over the Taipans. So the Taipans don't really want to get into any kind of head-to-head tie with those two. But in the 3-way tie at 16 and 12, the Taipans would get in.
Right.
It would finish in the order of the Crocs, the Taipans, and the Blaze. So I think just let this one play out. It's going to be on like Donkey Kong.
It is going to be very, very difficult. But from what you're saying, I'm reading between the lines here a little bit, but the way you're presenting it, it seems as though you're suggesting the Cairns Taipans probably going to be the unlucky ones.
Oh, they could be the lucky one.
Well,
I think if they go there 2-0, the heat's on the other two, and in the event of if it comes to a 3-0 tie, the Taipans are going to get in, even though they don't actually have a head-to-head split over the other two teams.
Okay. Crystal ball at Grantley. Give us the people out there want to know who's going to get in and who's not. Who are you tipping?
I think eventually...
This is wobbly.
Yeah, I think this is... Look, I honestly think that the Blaze... If the Blaze are feeding them, they're going to beat the Breakers in one of those 2 games they play them. That's going to give them a win over the Sixers. They'll get 17 wins and they'll be in.
Right.
The Crocs have got the Wildcats and the Breakers.
This has got hairs on it.
and I can probably only see a split there.
Right.
So they're 16 and 12, which means they're in the head-to-head with the Taipans. If they get it's the Blaze and the Crocs.
Right. There we go. It was convoluted. It was long-winded, but we got there eventually.
The real fans will know what we're talking about.
Absolutely, they will. Hey, Grantley, another good news has been the attendances this year in the INET NBL. They have been absolutely superb. Chock-a-block. Full to the pussy's bow. That's how it's been in the NBL this season. And the New Zealand Breakers, because of the excitement being generated over there, they're talking about taking their playoff games to the much larger Vector Arena. This is good news for the New Zealand Breakers.
Oh, it's massive. And they've done really well with their crowds when they've gone to Vector Arena this season. And they obviously feel they're not going to lose any home court advantage by going there. It's obviously going to be more fans, and they're probably going to make a bit more money for the league.
It's very good news. They're really getting behind the New Zealand Breakers, the people over there in New Zealand. It's been fantastic, the support they're getting. And part of the success they've had this year has been due to the very, very good work of Daryl Corletto. He came over late in the piece because he was going to be with the Melbourne Tigers, didn't get his pre-season work done with the New Zealand Breakers. But this is where a KG veteran can come in and just seamless introduction into the New Zealand Breakers, and he's been rewarded with a 2-year extension on his contract. Good news for Daryl Corletto, and good on the New Zealand Breakers for getting behind a new player in their organisation.
Yeah, and look, I guess there's some amount of irony, isn't there, that the Tigers had Paddy Mills, so Daz went off to New Zealand, and fair enough, and as it's panned out, Paddy Mills was gone by Christmas time, and the Tigers have gone to the basement. Daz is in New Zealand. They're up the top. He's got the new 2-year contract. Good luck to him. And I think he is a big reason. I think everyone had the slows on New Zealand coming into the season. Could they be as good as they were last year without Kirk Penny, etc.? CJ Bruton's had his issues, but Cedric Jackson's been outstanding, and Daryl Corletto's been outstanding, and in essence, they haven't missed a beat.
And an emphatic performance by the New Zealand Breakers. Still got a big challenge ahead to win back-to-back titles, but they've put their best foot forward, winning the regular season. Great work by them. Now, Daryl Corletto also this week on the Twitter was spruiking his 24-second shot challenge. Now, apparently there was a little bit of choking going on. Darren Ning's record was under threat, but he wasn't able to get it. We're going to have that later on in the season. We're going to see Daryl Corletto's work, but stick around later on because...
Hope it's not too much later in the season.
Well, Adris Deleon is going to be on the show having a crack, and he might give Darren Ning just a little bit of a fright as well. Grantley, it's now time of that show where we look at some of the very good performances and some of the not so good ones in a little segment we call Who's Hot? Who's Not? And I'm going to start this week with the hot ones. And there is no hotter performance going around than the Sydney Kings. You put the challenge out to Shane Heal last week saying the Sydney Kings very, very poor on the three-point percentage. Well, have they come back and said, Grantley, cop this. 10 of 14 from the land of plenty against the Wollongong Hawks. That is some unbelievable shooting, an incredible turnaround by the Sydney Kings, and just some of the Shane Heal magic that he was able to produce from the three-point line rubbing off on him. Also, the Wildcats, we mentioned it before, 26, that's right, I just almost have to question myself when I say it. 26 consecutive playoff performances, white hot by the Perth Wildcats, brilliant stuff. And the efficient big men. The big man stepping up in the efficiency category in round 23. Larry Davidson, 24 points on 10 of 12 from the field. And that to go with that, just add in the lazy 7 rebounds. Great work. Jeray Grant, 20 points in the same game. 20 points on 8 of 12. Did any of these big men play any defense? 8 of 12 from the field. And also had 8 rebounds. And the big fella, Lukey Shencher, he had 25 points on 11 of 13. Now, I know people out there were saying, come on, the big fellas, they're right up there around near the basket. But that is some unbelievable numbers by the big men going around in the NBL.
Good numbers.
Terrific numbers. Now, A segment that Grantley Bernard delights in, just sticking the knife in. Who are you going to give it to this week, Grantley?
Oh, we're not giving it to anyone. We're just pointing out a couple of observations along the way.
Right.
Not hot. The Adelaide 36ers.
No.
They haven't been really hot all season.
Up and down.
But to only get to the free throw line for 6 free throws in a game, in a game at home, you got to be wondering, were they not aggressive, getting to the basket? Did the refs just swallow the whistle? Or were the breakers
too good?
Brilliant on the inside?
I'm tipping the breakers might have been a bit too good.
Do you think?
But anyway.
Our old friends, the Taipans.
Yes.
Back to 59 points.
Well, they had a few players
I know they had a couple of players missing,
on.
but 59.
But Alex Loughton, no-show, and Crosswhite, no-show. So that's a
They
big,
still could have got 60.
Well, 59's not great, but...
No. And finally, your Wollongong Hawks. 5-game losing streak. They're on the bottom, and the wooden spoon is all but theirs, locked in. And apparently after that shooting display from the Sydney Kings against the Hawks, Gordy's going to do a defensive drill. He's going to put some little chocolate biscuits around the three-point line and see if the defenders can get out there.
Gee whiz, going very harsh, is he? I just... The hairs on the back of your neck just standing up, just loving to give it to some of the boys out there. No, they certainly need to lift. Well, another player that has done a spectacular job this season is Adris Deleon. Too hard to guard. That's his nickname because he's lightning quick, can get to the rack, and he's been very, very good for the Gold Coast Blaze.
But is he good enough to beat the Doctor?
Well, that's it, the Doctor, with the world record 16 in a row in the 24-second shot challenge. Let's see how too hard to guard goes in the 24-second shot challenge.
Hey guys, we're here for the 24-second challenge for IINet. I'm with my boy Adris Deleon, commonly known in Spanish language as La Flama Negra.
Yeah, La Flama Negra.
The Black Flame. He's here to shoot today, and how many do you reckon you're going to get today?
I think I'm going to put it today. I just woke up. I think I'm going to 6 or 7.
He makes jumpers in his sleep, so we're going to aim for 15 today.
15 it is.
Here we go. Well, there you go, Adris with 12. I think we're going to do the Spanish signing off today. I think it goes something like, it goes bomba!
Well, there it is, a pretty good performance there by Adris Deleon. And Grantley, what we can reveal is perhaps maybe Darren Ning's record is possible to be beaten because he had 13 too hard to guard, or I should say La Brambra Negra, but he also missed 4, so potentially could have
made 17.
Just a little footnote though, Mark Worthington and Will Hudson was rebounding, Mark Worthington doing the commentary. Can you count, fellas? Apparently wanted to give him 12.
They said 12, but we reviewed the tape.
It's not the first time it's happening. What's going on in the NBL?
Maybe that's why they are in the NBL.
My goodness. I don't know how many go in. You count the ones that go through the net. I would have thought it's a pretty simple formula we've got going here, boys.
Were you a counter during the games when you played?
No, but I might have been pretty interested in at the end of the game what the numbers were, but just to see how the game was panning out.
So you never knew how many you had when you were going along?
Nah, never. It's sometimes hard to avoid these days because the commentators always announce it. But
so you did?
No, well, it's hard to avoid it, like I said. Grantley, we love on this particular program to get the feedback from our audience. They are a very astute audience out there. They know a lot about what's going on. So we've got a little segment where we get their feedback off the social media, and it's called the Mark Zuckerberg Minute. And that's where, in honour of the great inventor of Facebook, and that is the best place to tackle us, to get the questions coming to us. The most popular way is through the NBL Facebook. I don't know how you get there, but I'm sure the people out there know how to do it. Get on, or you can jump on your Twitter account, Grantley Bernard, or mine, Andrew Gage 10, and knock us out a question. And each week, as we've been saying, you know the drill out there. The best question takes home an official NBL Sporting game ball. They're beauties. They're valued at $129. So well worth the effort to jump on and punch us out a question. Grantley, who are we going to open up with?
I think we'll open up with Go Crocs Miller,
Yes.
who says, will we see a 5-game series for the grand final in the next year or two, considering the increase in crowd numbers?
I don't think so. I think we had a look at the game, the best of 5, and there was some spectacular best of 5 series. The Melbourne Tigers, Sydney Kings, for one, is off the top of my head, just brilliant stuff. But I think here in Australia that we're more accustomed to the best of 3. And, it's a bit more compact, a bit more, it's over a little bit quicker. So what do you think, Grant?
I actually was initially opposed to the 5-game series.
Yes. But it grew on you.
It did.
It grew on
I think the quality of the contests, I mean, you go back and you look at the Kings and the Razorbacks.
Yes.
Was a blockbuster.
Correct, yeah, good one.
As you mentioned, the Tigers and the Kings had some classic series. The Tigers and the Dragons was another one. Even the 4-game series, the Tigers, the Bullets, etc.
Yes.
They were great series. Probably the only problem was it does tend to drag out a bit long. So I like the idea of the 5-game, but in answer to the question, I think the 3-game series is probably back to stay.
I'm pretty sure that's where we'll stay, Go Crocs Miller. Next up, we have Jeremy Ryan. Time to cut the list. Who do the Hawks let go? Grantley.
I think probably Dominic Wilkins has probably passed his best.
Dominic Wilkins. No, we're talking about the Wollongong Hawks.
I think Tree Rollins is probably...
Gee, you've gone back away there. But we're talking about the Wollongong Hawks. In all probability, they're going to finish with the wooden spoon. So you would expect they need to rejig their lineup. And they've got some real tough calls, some veterans that have been unbelievable servants to the clubs, guys like Glenn Saville, Matty Campbell. I personally think that they've still got a role there, just perhaps a less prominent role, and they might have to just look at the money side, the Bugs Bunny side of things as well. But they're real tough ones. Javon Catron, whether or not I think he's been solid, whether he's right for them.
Yeah, I think he's been okay, but I think you've got to look to... I think they want to be looking to upgrade.
Well, who do they cut? You're the man. Who do they cut? You're now the head coach of the Wollongong Hawks.
Really?
Well, it's hypothetically, who gets the lemon and sauce?
Well, look, I think they've got some good young players there.
Yep.
And they need to promote. I think probably one of Saville or Campbell will retire.
You think?
At the end of the season. I can't see them both. I can't see them both playing on, but I can't see them both going at the same time either.
Right.
I think it'd be one or the other. The feeling in the waters might be that Matty Campbell might be the one to step out and Saville play on another season or two. I think probably they need to upgrade Catron's position. I think they probably feel good with Ubaka coming in late, and they'll try and bring him back. And then maybe you've got to look at a spot where, like, say, a Dave Gruber. How does he fit in? Naturalised Australian now, so he's not taking an import spot.
No.
But do you need to upgrade in that role?
He's not one of the prime moves. I mean, he's
not. But do you try and bring in an upgraded player for that spot? Do you use his minutes for one of the younger players to keep pushing them through? I'm sure there's probably a couple other spots there as well that they'll examine every spot on the roster. But you can't really cut 10 and rebuild from scratch.
You've cut none by what you're saying.
I just told you.
Well, you with a little bit of asterisk next to him. You weren't so definitive. But
the season's not over. I'm taking a couple of weeks to consider my options.
All right, we'll get back to us on that one. And lastly, we have a question from Daniel Safiotti. And he wants to know, now the season is almost done, who are your top 3 sixth men of the year players? Now, this is... it's an interesting one because many of the players these days, not all the teams have sort of started with their regular 5 right throughout the entire season. You look at the Melbourne Tigers, particularly of late, they've been chopping and changing their starters right throughout. So many of the teams mix it up. But a couple that come off the top of my head would be Jesse Wagstaff. Now, I know he had some injury issues along the way, but he's been very, very good for the Perth Wildcats. And Pledger with the New Zealand Breakers, again, he's had a very, very good season. Not too sure. He might have had some starting roles as well. But You got any to throw into the equation? It's a tough one, really.
It is. Probably Petrie from the Blaze.
Good one.
Would be a good option. But I would
He
really...
started a few games as well.
He has, but I think we need to get the fans' feedback as well.
Yes.
They need to get to the Facebook page and hit us with the answers to who they think will be the best sixth man.
We need help.
And in fact, if they want to just give us a little heads up on who they think all the award winners could be, and we can thrash them out on next week's show.
Well, we'll thrash them out, and we will also be going along to what is going to be a terrific night. And this, of course, is the NBL Awards night. It's going to be at the Crown Casino in the beautiful Palladium Room. It's coming up on the 26th of March. It's going to be a great night and an opportunity for the fans to get out there and rub shoulders with the greatest basketballers this country can produce. It's not just the NBL, it's the WNBL Awards, six-man, All-Star Fives, MVPs. It's a tantalising evening and everyone must get along because there's always a few surprise packets thrown in. Last year it was Guy Sebastian. That's right, Guy Sebastian, the international. He doesn't play for anyone, but he can bang out a very nice tune. He won't be there. He was there last year, but who knows? He's going to pop along this year. It's all surprise, top secret stuff, but it's going to be a great night. Get your tickets. Jump on the NBL website to find out how to purchase a ticket and get there. Tickets are filling fast, so if you are interested, make sure you get on there quick. But this week's big award winner of the Mark Zuckerberg Minute is who? What question tickled your fancy?
I actually liked the question from Jeremy Ryan about who should the Hawks let go. You weren't brave enough to get off the fence and make a cut and dry observation.
Well, I didn't know.
But I think Jeremy with a cutting edge question.
Yes. Good question, Jeremy, and stay tuned. We'll be in contact with you very shortly and get that official NBL Sporting game ball out to you as soon as possible. Grantley, it's now, by my calculations, 2 rounds remaining in the NBL, 3 teams vying for 2 spots. So the good folk out there need to know where they can go and support their team this weekend. Talk us through all the action coming up in round 24.
The penultimate round of the NBL season.
Big word.
It starts on Thursday, and this is huge. The New Zealand Breakers against the Gold Coast Blaze. Fair to say that the Blazers' playoff chances could be on the line in this one. On Friday, the Perth Wildcats against the Townsville Crocodiles. Again, the Crocs going in there trying to keep the playoffs alive. The Cairns Taipans at home to the Sydney Kings. The Snakes need a win to make the playoffs. Adelaide and Gold Coast on Saturday night as well. Again, Gold Coast on the back end of a pretty tricky road double. They need that win.
Do they ever?
And on Sunday,
The big one.
the Melbourne Tigers against the Wollongong Hawks.
It is a game of not a lot of consequence, but I'm sure they'll be out there battling away the Melbourne Tigers and the Wollongong Hawks, trying to avoid the wooden spoon, so they'll be giving it their all. That game will be on 1 as well. Grantley, we just take a little minute to congratulate the Dandenong Rangers in the WNBL. They won the title last Sunday against the Bulleen Boomers. Well done to Mark Wright and Jenna O'Hay, who had an outstanding game, and all the girls for the Dandenong Rangers. Terrific work against the more fancy Bulleen Boomers, and commiserations to Tom Moe, who's done a great job with that program as well.
Been a long time coming for Mark Wright. It's his second stint at the Rangers. He went close a couple of times in the first spell, but he's got his reward, and very, very tough and colourful character, as I'm sure you would have found out many times on the
Highly
basketball court.
competitive man, and congratulations to everyone out there in Nonga land, that is Dandenong, for the terrific win in the WNBL title. Hey, time is against us, Grantley, so we need to pay respect to those that respect some of the sharp work that you and I do here on this program, and of course the NBL, and it all starts with the naming rights sponsor, iNet.
Connect better.
1.
Centre bet.
And 1.
Sporting.
Fido.
Woof. And Virgin Australia.
Virgin Australia, great work they do as well. Well, we are on the cusp. The penultimate, is that right? Penultimate round of the iNet NBL. Get out there and support your team, but check back in here next week for all the goings on in the iNet NBL. In the #1 podcast in the world, and dare I say it, the universe of the iNet NBL competition. And it's called It Goes. Oh.